set up here. Got my earmuffs on. There's the chat. We're good. We're good. All right.
My dog's snoring.
All right, we are live. Can we hear that dog of yours?
I hear her snoring. I don't know if you guys can.
I cannot hear her snoring.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Hello, good evening. Welcome, everybody. I am Tammy, and tonight I brought along Marie. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Thank you for coming. If you were here Monday and Tuesday night, welcome back. So to begin, I just want to start by saying that I know that we may be feeling isolated, alone, overwhelmed, but we will get through this together and come out a stronger nursing family on the other side. So all night we've been talking about the nursing family. So what is the nursing family? By the end of this week, if you've joined us all week, I'm sure you will know this, but the nursing family is, we believe that cooperation is more important than competition. We believe that we can all do this. And most important, we believe that we can all do this together. And that is why we were here Monday night, Tuesday night, tonight, and the rest of the week as a nursing family to motivate and inspire you. So as I said, I brought along the smart, beautiful, and oh so funny Marie Clark. Guys, this girl, look, she is really hilarious. Really is. Oh, I know. So let me just give you guys, if this is the first time you are meeting Marie, let me just give you a little background on her. So Marie earned her RN license in 2008 and currently works as, I practice this word a lot, Marie,
We'll see.
You can correct me. You ready? Telemetry?
Telemetry.
Dang it. And med-surg nurse in a hospital setting. She is a master prepared nurse who precepts ADN, BSN, and master candidates nurses for their first practicum. And in 2018, I can't believe it's been that long. Feels like yesterday.
Crazy.
I know. Marie joined the nursing.com team as the director of questions. There you go. Nursing.com. We got NRSNG, nursing.com. So yeah. So Marie maintains, get this guys, a question bank of 6,500 NCLEX style questions, one of the largest and most used NCLEX question banks on earth. So most used, I wanted to make sure like we could back this up. So I contacted Rich, who's one of our engineers. He hides in his little cave, so you guys probably don't know him. But I asked Rich, how many times has our questions been taken? And he's like, you know, I looked at it, and just in the last 8 months, Marie, do you think you could guess this question or this number? It's gonna blow your mind. Our questions have been taken 6 million times in the last 8 months. Yeah. So, needless to say, Marie, she eats, she breathes, and she sleeps NCLEX. Why? We'll find out. But, and that is why we at nursing.com, you guys can call her this too. We call her the question queen. Go on, show them your shirt.
They even got me a t-shirt, question queen.
I love it. It's cute.
Thanks.
And that is also why there is no one in the world that's more equipped to teach you how to pass this exam or test. So without further ado, the beautiful Marie.
Thank you. All right.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to share my screen here, guys. Do you see my little title, Joy in the NCLEX? Can you see that? Okay, we're going to get started. All right, you may be wondering, what the heck would that be? What do you mean joy in the NCLEX? I have no idea how to get that or why you would even talk about that. So today we're going to break it down for you, and I'm going to show you 4 ways that you can kind of clear your head and really get the concept of finding joy in a miserable situation. to start, we're going to do a quote. This is a quote that was written in a time in history where we really reached the bottom of humanity. So this is, gotta wait for my little computer here, Anne Frank. So if you know about Anne Frank, in 1942, she was a young girl with her family hiding for her life in an attic from the Nazi Germans. And she said this, "I don't think of all the misery, but of the beauty that still remains." And so I thought that was a great place to start. And while, studying for the NCLEX and actually seeing that test looming before you may not be quite as bad as hiding in an attic for your life, it's definitely really a difficult part of the journey. And it's something that a lot of people anticipate, not with joy, but with anxiety, right? And so if we can find beauty and joy in this particular standardized test, you will be able to find beauty and joy on the worst day nursing shift of your life, right? Because you're going to have those days as a nurse too. So we're going to practice with the NCLEX. All right. So when I went to take the NCLEX, I had a picture in my mind of this piece of paper that I was earning. And so here I went to my state board of nursing and I looked up my own license and took a screenshot for you guys. And so it's nice to have this picture because beyond the NCLEX, there is a piece of paper that you deserve with your name on it and your very own RN license number, okay? And so that's something that I want you to think, like it's not just about the test, it's about looking beyond the test, earning your license, and then going on to be equipped to care for patients. So that's something that you can find beauty in as well, and joy. All right, so 4 tips to bring you joy. We are going to break down 4 things that may be a train of thought in your mind, and we're going to clear your mind with these and get you on the right track. The first one, the NCLEX is the worst. So we're going to talk about that tonight. Number 2, coronavirus and the NCLEX. So now we're going to throw in on top of all of what's already going on to become a nurse, the coronavirus. Yes, and we're going to talk about it and you're going to be prepared. What's a CAT test? So we're going to talk about that. And finally, Bloom's what? Bloom's, what are you talking about? So Bloom's taxonomy. You may have heard this term. Hopefully you've gotten a little bit of an idea throughout some of your final semester classes about what Bloom's taxonomy is. So we'll go over this as well. All right, let's jump in and address why the NCLEX is not the worst, all right? So you may think that the NCLEX is pointless. What the heck? I've just gone through this rigorous nursing program, right? I've gone through clinicals. I've had this difficult professor. I've had countless hours of study groups. I've memorized lab values. Why do I need to sit and take this silly test? Okay, let's think about it. So nursing is the #1 most trusted profession, right? And in order to be that, we have to have nothing but competent nurses out there taking care of patients. So once you earn your RN and you walk into that, or your PN, and you walk into that patient's room and they say, "Oh, are you my nurse?" And you say, "Yes," there's this automatic trust that patients have with their nurse. That only comes when we can make sure that the nurses that are practicing in hospitals and in other settings have passed this test and can prove that they're safe and they're confident, but not too confident, and they have good critical thinking. And so all of that comes in the form of that piece of paper and the NCLEX that you took. You may be thinking, they want me to fail. I know that this is kind of a common feeling, even with a regular test, not just the standardized boards that you have to take, but also a test that you might have to take in nursing school or even in high school. You kind of feel like you get this piece of paper and like somebody's watching me, they just want me to fail, right? So I'm here to tell you that #1, at nursing.com, we're a family. And you are a part of that family. And we are the most supportive cohort on the planet, and we are cheerleading you on, and we do not want you to fail. So that's number one. We want you to succeed. Now let's talk about your professors. You may have had a difficult professor here and there, and some people that you felt like in along the way, maybe a clinical instructor that were really rough and really tough on you. They're like that for a reason. They actually want you to succeed too. And then if you think about the NCSBN, okay, this is the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. These people construct the tests, they write the questions, they vet the questions, they analyze everything, they put together this NCLEX that you have to take. These people also want you to succeed. And so nowhere along the line are people rooting for you to fail. We're all rooting for you to succeed. So hopefully you can kind of take that mindset, take those thoughts, and really integrate them into your thought pattern so that you recognize that we really do want you to succeed. Finally, you may feel like you're going in blind to the NCLEX. I certainly did. Let me tell you, in the summer of 2008 is when I went to take my NCLEX. I was 6 months pregnant with my first child. We had just moved to a new state, and I had graduated from nursing school in May. It was July now, and I didn't know anyone, first of all, so I had no friends. I also knew no nurses. I had no connections in any hospitals, and all of my fellow students that I used to study with were not around. So I had no one, and I really didn't feel supported in any way, nor were there companies like nursing.com where I could go to for support and just to bounce off questions. It was just me, my pregnant self, my husband was working all the time, and I'm sitting there with my textbooks, like trying to study going in totally blind, right? You don't have to do that anymore. So we have we have strategy for you to really know what you're up against with the NCLEX. And if you want, at the end of the presentation, we can talk about that a little more. But you don't have to go in blind. You can know what you're looking for. You can know what you're up against. And the other thing is just a little bit of advice for you as you plan that day of the test. Another thing that I did not do is you want to know where the Pearson VUE Testing Center is, right? You want to drive there at the same time of day that you will be driving there to take your test. And you want to check out the parking situation. So all of these things are going to help you to not feel like you're going in blind. All right. So that's just a couple little words of advice for you. All right. That was tip number one. So number two, taking the NCLEX during COVID-19. Not only do we have all these hurdles, now we have coronavirus, right? So first of all, number one, right now and through at least July, but maybe further, there's social distance requirements in the test center. So what does that mean? That means that not as many people can be in the test center at a time, which means less tests are available to be taken. There aren't as many time slots, right? So some of you may have found that your test was canceled, which is a total bummer. What you're going to need to do is log back on to Pearson VUE to your account as quickly as possible and reschedule your test, because the less slots available, the longer out the wait list will be. And you really don't want to wait too long to take your test. About 6 weeks, about 45 days is enough time after graduation. And then after that, you kind of start to lose a little bit of your knowledge. So if your test was canceled, definitely log in as soon as possible and reschedule that. Hopefully you already have. And then another thing I want to say is once coronavirus hit and we were all just scrambling and nobody knew what to do, they closed a lot of the testing centers. So testing was disrupted. They're opening up the centers little by little. And so you will know what center is open by logging onto your Pearson VUE, taking that authorization to test. And once you log into your account and choose your test center, the ones that are available are the ones that are open. So there's no list anywhere. Like I can't access a list. The NCSBN is not providing that. But when you log into your account, you will see a list of open test centers. And if it's not listed, then it's closed. But if it's listed, it's definitely open. All right, number 2. This is an absolute requirement. Bring your own face mask. They will not provide face masks at the testing center. And if you don't have one, you're turned away. So this is definitely something that you want to add to your list of things to prepare, to put in your car, to have for sure when you go to take the test. Number 3, ID, photo, palm vein scan. What do I mean by this? Well, number 1, you need a government issued photo ID. And you must add that to your list, put it next to your face mask. Those 2 things are absolutely required. Number 2, they are going to take your photo when you get there. So yes, you will have a mask on. You must wear it at all times, except for one moment, you will take it off, smile for the camera, and then you will put it back on. So they're going to take your photo. The other thing listed here is the palm vein scan. So what does that mean? So this was not around when I took my test in 2008. This is new technology, but every single person's pattern of palm veins is different and unique. So when you go to take the test, you're going to hand sanitize, they're going to hand sanitize, you're going to put your hand on their little scanner and they're going to scan your palm vein pattern. That goes into their little database and you go in and you take the test. If you decide to take advantage of the breaks, like if you want a bathroom break or you need to go get a drink of water and just clear your mind for a second, you walk out. When you walk back in, you must scan your palm veins again in order to go in and continue your test. We know why. This is so you cannot play switch with a friend and then they come in and finish your test for you. So that is an absolute requirement as well. All right, number 4, don't bring pencils, don't bring paper. If you need to write notes, they will provide you with a whiteboard and a marker. And then the other thing is you will have on the computer during the test up in the corner, a calculator that you can just open up if you have to do any calculations. So obviously you can't bring your smartphone in or any phone at all, no paper, no pencil. You actually can't even wear a jacket into the center when you go sit down at your computer to take the test, no jacket. So definitely dress warm enough if you get cold like me. I'm a person who gets cold. And then you're going to sit down there with nothing and you get a whiteboard, you get markers, and you can just use the calculator that's on the computer. Finally, and this is the one that has caused some people to be anxious, they have changed the test because of the coronavirus. So because they can't get as many people into the testing centers, they needed to shorten the test so that more tests could be taken, right? So the test is shorter. It used to be 75 questions to 265. Now it's 60 questions to 130 as the maximum. So that's about half the length of the original test if you're going to go to the very end and they're going to have you answer all the questions, right? And then the time frame has also been reduced. It used to be 6 hours. Now it's 4. To me, that's a good thing because you have 4 hours to take half of the maximum questions that you would have had to take with the normal one. That means you can give yourself a little bit more time with each question. A lot of people think, but if I don't have that opportunity to take the full 265, that means that I don't have as good of a chance of passing. So the people at NCSBN, when they made these changes to the test, there's a certain type of person, there's a certain career called a psychometrician. And this person is an expert in analyzing and data of standardized tests. And so these people all got together and did a bunch of work behind the scenes and came up with simulations to make sure that the changes they were making to the NCLEX would not make it harder. Then our first quarter information from the NCLEX was published, which included graduate students who had taken the NCLEX, and they found that the difficulty did not go up. So that's good, right? We now have data that since the changes with the coronavirus, the test is still just as difficult or easy as it was before. All right, so that's number 2. All right, so number 3, CAT test.
Before we move on, just a couple questions. Do you think they'll extend the new regulations further than July 4th?
That is a great question. They're not telling us right now. They say that July is the earliest that they would go back, revert to the original test. And so we just don't know yet. Very possible. When you look at the trend of everything else that's happening, how some schools are not going to open in the fall, my best guess would be, yes, they would extend that. Mm-hmm. That's just a guess, though.
And then another question, is there a locker provided to lock your keys and phones?
That's a good question. I am assuming, this would just be a big assumption again. When I went, I remember like cubbies, just like you have in kindergarten where you throw your shoes in your jacket. There were cubbies that I put my stuff in, but I don't remember anything locked. So I'm not sure. That's a great question.
Courtney says, I did not know they changed the question amount and time. Kind of nervous now.
Yeah. So that is a super normal response. And a lot of people have been feeling anxiety about that. It's hard. And Frank would put a positive spin on it, right? She would say, hey, I only have to take 130 questions instead of 265. But I can see how that would be like anxiety producing. But like I said, they already published the data from a bunch of people who took the test last quarter, and they took the test with the changes. And it turned out to be the same percentage of people passing as it was before. So.
And I'm also, everything that Marie just said, I'm going to post a link right here. And if you want to go to review it, we actually posted those on nursing.com. So you guys can go review everything that she just said. So you don't have to go back and watch the whole YouTube again. So sorry, Marie, you ready to get back?
All right. So we're like halfway done with this little 2 out of the 4 are done. So now we're going to talk about everybody's second favorite household pet. Just kidding. No, a cat. It's not about a kitten. It's about computer adaptive testing. So what does that mean? First of all, this test is designed in a way that no other test is, because it takes your answers and it analyzes the way that you're answering questions for the boards to come up with your ability to be a safe entry-level nurse, right? So what it does is it feeds you, the NCLEX feeds you your very first question, and you see it pop up on your screen. And if you're anything like me, when I saw my first question, you're going to look at it and go, I have no idea what this is. I'm going to get this wrong. It's like shell shock at first, and that's okay. And it's okay to get that question wrong. So when you answer that question, let's say you did get that question wrong, that very first one, the computer is going to feed you question number 2 at a level where it thinks, the program is programmed to feed this to you, that you have a 50% chance of getting that second question right. Okay, so then you answer that second question. Then it feeds you the third question based on your previous 2 answers. And see, it's analyzing, it's estimating your ability all along. And it's increasing the precision of where you fall along the line of being a safe entry-level nurse. So I did a little graph here. This is the y-axis and the x-axis. The x-axis is the number of questions that you've taken. Can you guys see that? And then the y-axis, what's that?
We can't see it. Can you put it in your screen just a little bit more?
Oh.
The light is, there we go, perfect.
Okay. Very simple graph, okay? But the straight line is the level that you need to be at to be a safe nurse, right? And then the squiggly line is where you fall as you go along and you get answers right and wrong. And so I don't know why I could have just put that in the presentation, but I didn't. So by the end of the test, when the computer is 95% confident that it knows where you fall above, on, or below that straight line, that is when the computer no longer needs you to answer questions and you are done. And it will just turn off after that final question. And so 9 out of 10 people who are first-time test takers pass. So keep that number in your mind, okay? So that's computerized adaptive testing. All right, Bloom's what the heck? What does Bloom's taxonomy mean? Okay, so this is a way that has been construed where it estimates, I guess, how do I say this? So it's a way to classify levels of understanding, all right? And so we start at the very basic level down here of remember. And remembering is just being able to recall facts, okay? You're not going to get those questions on the NCLEX. The next level is understand. And so this level is you can kind of fit some facts that you know into a context and come up with some meaning behind those facts, right? Then we get to apply, and apply is where you can take the facts, you can give meaning to the facts, and then you apply them to a situation and you act on them. And then finally, the analyze, and this is the highest level of understanding and cognition that you will get in the NCLEX. The analyze level is all about being able to do certain things in order to have an outcome. So you want to create some sort of positive outcome for this patient. So you take all the information and you make a decision and you analyze the information and you apply it to the patient and have an outcome. These next two levels are not tested yet, nor will they be until about 2023. So we have a good 3 years before we get to those types of questions. All right. So now to end, what we're going to do is go through 2 questions, and these are from our question bank at nursing.com in the analysis level. So almost all of the questions that you get on the NCLEX are going to be in the analysis level, and there's 2 types that we're going to talk about tonight. The first one is prioritization, okay? So the nurse is prioritizing something based on client information. So I'm going to read this, and since I can't have you guys participate verbally, I'm just going to go through how I would arrive at an answer to this question. So a client with a pulmonary embolism is experiencing increased right ventricular afterload. Which of the following is a priority concern of the nurse? Cardiogenic shock, MI, stroke, or decreased urine output? All right, so for some reason, I like to start at the bottom at the last question and work my way up. So I'm going to start at the last answer option, which is decreased urine output. All right, so this client has a PE. I know based on my nursing, what I've learned in nursing school, I know that a PE is a blood clot in the pulmonary vasculature, right? In the pulmonary circulation, all right? Got that down. Increased right ventricular afterload. Okay, so I know that the right side of the heart is pumping blood toward the pulmonary system, okay? So here I have this little picture of the heart. I know the anatomy. I know where the right side, where the blood is going when it's pumped from the right side. So decreased urine output. Something I may know is that decreased urine output is a direct measure of cardiac output. Okay, so this patient may be experiencing decreased cardiac output because it's hard for it to pump against that increased afterload on the right side, which means blood's not really going to the left side to then be pumped throughout the body. So that's decreased cardiac output. So sure, decreased urine output, that is a total possibility, and my patient would have that. However, is that a priority concern? Probably not. We'll keep that in our mind because it's a potential. It's definitely something that would happen, right? But it might not be a priority concern. Let's move up to stroke as an answer option. Okay, so this patient has a blood clot. It's a PE. That patient probably has a clotting disorder, right? And a stroke can be caused by a clot. So, however, I've never really associated a PE as a huge risk for a stroke. Even though this patient is clotting, I've never really encountered that. I'm not sure about that stroke would be a priority concern. However, a stroke is a big deal, so I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on that patient, right? But I don't know if stroke is the right answer. Let's move on to MI, so myocardial infarction. I know that an MI is caused from a blockage in a coronary artery. Okay, so that's an artery that supplies blood to the heart. But this patient has a PE. That's a blockage in the pulmonary system, not the heart muscle. So I'm kind of doubtful that MI is the right answer. Now let's move on to cardiogenic shock. Okay, so this is totally how I thought when I was taking the NCLEX. Let's say I had no idea what cardiogenic shock meant, but I know that shock means that some vital organs aren't being perfused. Okay, so that's happening probably if this patient has increased right ventricular afterload because no blood is getting to the left side to pump to vital organs. Okay, so it might be shock, but cardiogenic, what does that even mean? So let's break down cardiogenic, and this is where medical terminology could come in handy. Cardio, heart, okay, that makes sense. Genic, genesis, origin, beginning, okay, so maybe cardiogenic shock means or originating in the heart, and shock is decreased perfusion. Okay, so that really sounds like cardiogenic shock might be the right answer, but let's go back to the decreased urine output. That's totally a possibility too. That's going to happen too, right? So which is the priority concern for the nurse? Cardiogenic shock. So do you see how even without knowing what cardiogenic shock is, I can either figure out what the word may mean or eliminate the other answers? So that's how we handle these questions. And that is how you can be successful as you reason through with the information given to come up with your right answer. And here's your rationales, but we already went through all those. All right, so this is our final question. And this is another type of analysis question about evaluating client data. All right, so sometimes we're given in the NCLEX a set of information, and we need to go through, sort out what is going on with the patient, make our interpretations based on just the information given, right? And then come up with our right answer. So I will read this to you guys. So the nurse is reviewing lab values and notes the client's potassium is 6.5 milliequivalents per liter. Client complains of palpitations, and the client's EKG shows tall, peaked T waves. Which of the following is a priority intervention for the nurse? All right, so I'm going to scan my answers. I kind of have the idea of what's going on with the patient. I'm going to scan my answers. Continue to monitor. Administer IV insulin. Administer IV KCL. Both of those are orders, so we know that there's no problem there. The nurse wouldn't be, doing something outside of her scope of practice. Or ensure the client has an airway. Once again, I just like to start from the last answer or the last option and then go up. So let's look at airway. Okay, so as a new nurse, as a student nurse, I know that the biggest priorities are airway, breathing, and circulation, right? So I see airway and I'm like, boom, airway, that's got to be the right answer. But let's look at the stem of the question again. This client is complaining, okay? That means the client is able to breathe and move air in and out of their airway, right? So that makes me think that the client may not be at risk of losing an airway. Then I think about potassium and I go, okay, potassium affects the heart muscle. I know that, but I've never heard of it affecting the airway. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that answer is not correct. All right. So even though airways are a big deal, this client is not demonstrating any sort of airway issues. And so that answer is not correct. All right, let's move up to the two administers. So we have administer IV KCL, which is potassium chloride, or administer IV insulin. All right, so potassium, that's in the stem of the question. And what does it say? Potassium is 6.5. Okay, so I have to know the normal lab value for potassium, which is 3.5 to 5. So I know that this client's potassium is too high. They're hyperkalemic. So would we administer IV potassium? No way. So take that one out too. So we've eliminated two answers and we're down to just two. All right. So because there's two administer responses, I'm kind of suspicious that one of them may be correct, but I don't know for sure. Because let's say I just don't have in my mind that insulin affects potassium. So I'm just not sure if that's correct. Let's move on to continue to monitor. So, this patient's K is high. It's above normal. The client is symptomatic. They have palpitations. They're complaining of palpitations in their heart. And they have an EKG that is abnormal, okay? So tall peaked T waves are not normal for an EKG. Would a nurse just continue to monitor the patient? No, no way. If a client is symptomatic and their lab value is off and it's related, we certainly would never just continue to monitor this patient. So it seems like that answer option number 2 is correct. Administer IV insulin. But let's say again, I just don't have in my mind and I can't grasp anywhere in the recesses of my entire brain that insulin and potassium is related, right? I just don't have that in my mind, but I can eliminate all the other answers. And so that's how I'm getting to the right answer to this question is I just know it's not the other 3. So the only one left is the insulin. And of course, that is correct. So administer IV insulin is the correct thing to do for this patient. And here's the rationale. IV insulin should be given as ordered. This helps shift potassium from outside the cell into the cell, which lowers the serum potassium level. And then I just put a little note there that the how it happens, even though you don't really have to know that much in detail for the NCLEX, but it's a little bit of like anatomy, physiology, cell stuff from biology right there. So anyway, so that is how we're going to reason through these NCLEX questions. And you don't have to know it all, but you have to have that good foundation of critical thinking, and you have to remember back to your clinicals and have some clinical judgment to take this test and succeed and demonstrate that you are a safe entry-level nurse. So here's you after hearing these 4 tips, and now you're joyful. And I wanted to add this quote at the end because this really touched me. So this is from an anonymous person, but it says, save 1 life, you're a hero. Save 100 lives, you're a nurse. So as we always say here at nursing.com, go out and be your best self today. And as always, happy nursing.
Nice. Thanks, Marie. So I just wanted to pull something up really quick. So you were talking about that pass line, and I just wanted to show here, maybe you could review this. Now, this is my NCLEX, and clearly I did not pass, but maybe you can kind of explain it. So the NCLEX is what we have inside of nursing.com. And it's our version of the NCLEX. And Marie, if you want to kind of just dive in and kind of show them and explain that graph. And if you want, I can hit review after you show the graph and talk about the graph if you'd like. So let me just hide myself and you can do that if you would like.
So are you gonna show this to them?
Yeah. This is the graph.
Okay. Okay, so this is a person who got a few answers right and then really didn't get any right after that, which could happen. So as you can see right here, this straight line across the very middle is the pass line. And so these psychometricians at the NCSBN or our very own here at nursing.com have come up with this pass line. It's based on logarithms, and I don't even know what all to even say about that. But they're formulas, and you can see here that you must be on or above this line in order to pass the test, okay? As you go along, at first when you answer questions, the computer is not going to be very precise. It's not really going to know how well you're doing or where your knowledge really places you along that graph. And so you're going to have high ones and low ones, and it's going to be all over the place at first. Then as you continue to answer questions, the lines are going to be looking more like more of a straight line. They're not going to be as far apart from one question to the next. And so they're going to get closer and closer until, based on whatever program this computer is using, I just don't understand it, but it's going to keep going until it has a 95% confidence level that it knows where you fall along that y-axis, whether or not you're above the line and you're great, whether you're right on the line and you still are a safe nurse, or whether you're somewhere below the line, okay? And so that's how that works. Tammy, does that help? Is that what you wanted me to show?
Yeah, just kind of show like what exactly the pass line is and like where you go inside the NCLEX. Yeah, and then do you want to review this exam, or you just kind of don't just show here?
I mean, I can talk about whatever slide you go to, but since I'm not connected to that one,
up to you. Let me hide myself and I'll let you do that.
I can't really see it very well, actually. Okay, great. So now we get to show you inside nursing.com. This is super fun. So here in the NCLEX Prep stage, which you can learn more about that when you go to nursing.com, we have here all the questions. This is basically data from all the questions that you answered for the NCLEX, right? And here, this is how well you did in fundamentals, how well you did in pharmacology, etc. And so we've color coded it where the red means that you need to, you are not at the passing standard for this area. And so you need to practice these more. You need to kind of review some concepts and fundamentals, take more questions on that, really get your brain in there and thinking and figure out fundamentals. And then here in pharmacology, the green means that you are good to go. So once you have an area that is green, you really don't need to focus on that anymore. You should focus on your weak areas, which would be the red, right? So here, OB-PEDS were red. There's also yellow, which I'm not sure if I see any yellow here. But yellow means you're right on that line. You should probably practice a little bit, but you're right there. You're right at a level of understanding where you will probably pass that portion of the NCLEX, but it wouldn't hurt to study, right? But first you're going to prioritize the red, then the yellow, and then we don't need to worry about the green. So here going down, I saw questions and answers. Okay, so here's some NCLEX categories. You may not care about the NCLEX categories, but it is a way that the National Council of State Boards of Nursing go and categorize all the different tasks that nurses do. And they kind of break it down to 8 categories. So here up above, it was by nursing category. And then here it breaks down your answers by NCLEX category. And so in the same way that you want to focus on the red, the same applies here as well. All right, now check this out. So you have just taken our version of the computerized adaptive test. So our NCLEX mirrors the NCLEX in difficulty, including all the changes with coronavirus. So right now, if you go to our website and take a NCLEX, it will be an extremely similar experience to taking the real NCLEX. So here, this person has taken the NCLEX, and you can then review, or the NCLEX, you can then review every single answer and rationale and figure out why you got the questions wrong and review concepts related to those within nursing.com. So that's how that works. Every single one is in here. This is our NCLEX Prep dashboard. Here you see a video that this person was watching, and they can continue. It has a mark, it has a timestamp or whatever right where they left off. So if I click play right there, it's going to take me exactly to where I was in the video. So I don't have to waste any time watching something I already watched. And then this is our NPQ. This is our Nurse Practice Question Quiz Builder. And this is an extremely useful feature at nursing.com. So it allows you to customize quizzes based on either what context you're studying in for school, or if you want to brush up on your weak areas or whatever, you can customize the quizzes here. And you're going to get fed questions from our question bank to match what you need. So I can choose any length of test, any length of quiz. I can choose to do all of the nursing categories or just individually pick a few. I may want to just focus on my red ones, which are my weak areas. And then I can also go to advanced features and customize my quizzes even more. So this is a great way to practice for the NCLEX, to really figure out, let our database know where you lie for your abilities, and then you can really hone in on your weakest areas and be very efficient with studying. My doorbell just rang, but I'm not going to answer it. So here we can also choose a quiz based on NCLEX categories. We can choose just select all that apply questions, just alternate format questions, or just your standard 4-answer multiple choice. And then we can also pick only questions that we've gotten incorrect in the past. So that's something that's great too, something to really hone in on. And then as well as question difficulty. So hold on guys. I'm going to answer my doorbell because this is kind of distracting. Don't mind me.
All right. So while Marie is doing this,
I can't talk right now. I'm on a meeting. Thanks. I don't know.
Well, there you go. That's excitement. Okay. All right. I'll let you get back to it. We'll answer your questions. Right. Yeah, you guys, we're getting some questions in here, but I'll let you finish this page or quiz builder first. Okay.
So I think the only thing left was that there's a question difficulty right here, and you can choose only the really easy questions maybe to start, or if you're a newer student in a lower, like your first or second semester, or you can choose to really challenge yourself and take difficulty 3 questions, which a lot of people get wrong, right? So that's kind of how you can customize the different quizzes in the NPQ quiz builder. I know, I answered the door. I didn't even know what to say to him. He's like, I'm wearing my mask. I'm like, I just can't talk right now. All right. So here we are in performance. So this really breaks down. If you love data, you're going to love this. Data. Some people say data. Some people say data. If you like data, you're going to love this. So you can go to your nursing categories. You can see exactly the percentage that you're scoring on these quizzes. And again, you always want to focus on the red, especially if you have limited time, like focus on your weakest areas. I like this because you can see exactly what your worst nursing category and your worst NCLEX category is right off the bat. So that's good. If we're going to be honest with ourselves, we want to know what we need to study. And if we want to make ourselves feel good, we want to know our best categories too, right? All right. So that's fun. And then we can go into past quizzes and review every single quiz we have taken on our website. So that's another really fun thing to do. Fun thing to do. All right, so these are the different things available in the NCLEX Prep stage of nursing.com. So you can make study plans. I did want to look at this real quick. So let's say you only have 2 weeks left before your NCLEX test date. This on nursing.com will give you a roadmap of exactly what you need to do each day to prepare. So again, I wish there was something like this in 2008, but we have it today. So that's a good thing. So as you can see, they have brain breaks built in, when you should take the CMCLEX, and then how many practice questions and what areas you should take. So it really lays it all out for you and makes it so you don't have to do any extra work to plan that. Where are you going? Okay, so the NCLEX Prep book. This book is amazing. You can find this book on Amazon. It gives you only what you need to know in order to study to pass the NCLEX. So here you see we've organized it and broken it down to a very simple, straightforward way of getting the information. So yeah, this is a bestseller of ours. So this is something you definitely want to check out. And then where are you going next, Tammy? the NCLEX Prep course. Okay, so here again, we've organized your all our content at nursing.com and reduced it down to the main things that you need to know to study for the NCLEX. Once you're at that point, you have all those clinicals and all those classes under your belt. This is where you want to go to review quickly for the NCLEX. You can go into each module and click right on the video. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. And all our videos are around 7 minutes. We strive to keep them under 10. Most of them are around 7. And so in 7 minutes, you get a complete review of a nursing concept, which is super helpful. And a lot of people take this and just set aside 15 minutes before class, do this lesson, go through and watch the video, and then you go to class and you're already like have this concept going in your brain and you're ready to like ask questions and really get that in your mind. So this is pretty cool. This person took a lot of SIMCLEXs.
This person is me. All right. So my SIMCLEX and NPQ results are not the greatest, but I figured we'd come in here now and start answering some questions. I saw one that said, how do we know what percentage we should be before we're ready to take the NCLEX? Do you want to answer that one, or would you like me to?
You can answer.
So we tell people to aim, you saw those percentages, we tell people to aim between 55 and 60% in each of the nursing categories. Now, if you're below the 55%, then those are the nursing categories that we tell you to go back and review. So as Marie was showing you, those red and green areas, sorry, John is texting me. So those red and green areas, so if it's red, then those are the areas. If it's yellow, you're kind of between, but try to aim between 55 and 60% in those categories. So a lot of people are asking about price and all that stuff. So we are running a special right now for this NCLEX Prep package, which you see, everything that you see right here is what you would get. And right now for the COVID response, we till May 15th. So what day is it? A couple days. We are running it for $210, I believe it's. Yeah, $210, 35% off. So I'll put the website if you guys want to go directly to that. And let's see, let's go ahead and how do we know what percentage we should be? I got that one, just ordered it. I am just waiting for my order to arrive. I tried getting the book and it was sold out. So April, the book is now available. I'll put the web address right here for you, unless somebody else did. Price is going to go back to normal on May 15th. So how do we access SIMCLEX, NCLEX questions if we purchased nursing about a year or so ago? So if that is the case, then let me just show you really quickly. Then Marie, I'm going to hide you this time, okay?
That's fine.
So if you got nursing.com a while ago, then you're probably in this nursing student account, and you can still get those NCLEX style questions in that account. My internet is going a little slowly, guys. I am sorry about that. But so inside of here, you have the practice questions. And these are all going to be those NCLEX style questions that Marie was just going over. So you just go to the practice questions, and it's the same kind of page builder for you guys. So you can still do everything that she just went over, but it just come up here to practice questions. So that is that. Let me bring Marie back in here. All right. Okay. So any and all advice for someone who is 2 days away? Marie.
Okay. So you are 2 days away from taking your test. One of the best things you can do is disconnect, at least for one full day, from anything related to NCLEX nursing questions. So if you have tomorrow and one more day, and then you take the NCLEX on whatever that is, day Saturday. So Thursday, tomorrow, I might go in and I might just take a couple questions, maybe spend an hour, spend 30 minutes doing some questions, but then you're going to kind of close out, make sure it's more about keeping yourself well and keeping mentally sane, right? And so then on Friday, you're going to want to do something enjoyable, get some physical activity, make sure you eat well and get a good night's sleep. Organize all your stuff, get your mask, get your ID, all that stuff ready to go. And then if you haven't driven to the testing center, you want to drive there and see what the parking is like and figure out and you want to go there that same time of day, like I said earlier, that you are going to be going for the test, even though it's on a Saturday. Just go that same time of day so you can see what the traffic is like. So that's my advice for you for the next 2 days.
Okay.
You'll do great.
Yes, you will do great. You got this. I was thinking about focusing very hard on the first 60 to 100 questions and not worrying about time. Do you feel like that is smart?
Okay, so you definitely want to do your best on every question, right? But so there's only 130 questions and you have 4 hours to take that. So that is almost 2 minutes per question, which is actually a lot of time. It's 1.8 minutes per question. I don't even know what that comes out to in seconds. We don't need to know that. But I would make sure you're tracking to keep yourself where you have enough time to answer 130 questions in 4 hours. So a little less than 2 minutes per question, right? But you're right in that you need to focus really hard, and you probably won't get all 130 questions. Is pretty rare, but definitely just do your best on each question and don't lag behind too much after that, like 2 minute mark per question. You just want to be careful of that.
So I just put in the link right here, nursing.com/LP/COVID. That will take you directly to that that special pricing that is good and for 2 more days for you guys to sign up for it for $210. So that's seriously really awesome pricing. With that, you get 5 of those CMCLEXs. You also get, I don't think we've talked about this. I don't know if we should mention it. It's our secret, but you can go and check out like the rules and regulations, but we also offer a 200% NCLEX pass guarantee. So yeah, that's pretty awesome, right? So yeah, so there's that link for you guys right there. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through. There's lots of questions. How will the questions? Will it be hard or easy?
Is that referring to the NCLEX?
I think. So I guess depends on how you study, right? If you're ready.
I mean, for sure. If you are getting you will always feel like the question you're answering is difficult because the computer feeds you questions that you only have a 50% chance of getting right. So each question is going to feel difficult. You could, by chance, have 1 or 2 questions that are easy because you just know the information, the material. But for the most part, it's going to feel difficult. And that's okay. That's normal.
So, Kendra, is the CMCLEX testing available if you already have an account, or does the NCLEX Prep need to be purchased for that? Depends. So you would need to contact support and we can look at it for you. But if you were over on NRSNG and you moved over, most of those accounts did have access to CMCLEX and you were grandfathered in with that. So, but contact support at contact@nursing.com and we'll look into that. It'll take 2 seconds, but I just need your account information. So I'm sorry. I know I look weird just reading all these questions. Okay, here we go. When I do questions incorrect, I find myself getting down to 2 choices. One is always the right one, but I end up choosing the wrong one. Any advice?
That is something where if you're finding yourself always choosing the wrong answer, then it could be an issue of wanting to go back to the question. Like, first of all, you've narrowed it down to 2. You're just going to take a deep breath, And then you're going to look back at the stem of the question with fresh eyes, read through it again, and make your best choice. That's pretty much all I can really give you advice for that.
Somebody says, I have a question about registering for NCLEX. I registered, but there are no dates until August 19th. Is it possible to check back to change to earlier date? I'm afraid of taking it too late in the year.
That is a question that I probably cannot answer. Of course, there's always situations where people change their testing date for one reason or another. But my guess is with the coronavirus thing that's going on, that's going to happen not very often. What you could do is find out if there's a testing center open further away from you and try to get in there. But I think that's risky if you try to reschedule, because then you lose your slot at the one that you're close to. So gosh, maybe call Pearson VUE about that, because yeah, I really don't know for sure.
So last question, and I can answer this one. So I have a nursing student account. Should I switch over to the NCLEX Prep package? Is there a significant difference or overlap? Thank you. So it depends kind of where you're at in school. If you are, you have the full 2 years or 4 years, whatever that is, then I personally would get the bundle. I always say that. The biggest difference between the nursing student account and the NCLEX Prep is the C-MSRN and the NCLEX book. So those are really the two big differences. And if you're prepping for the NCLEX, then you do want to take the C-MSRN. I mean, it's an amazing resource as you're preparing for it. Wouldn't you agree, Question Queen? Hey,
absolutely.
That rhymes.
Absolutely.
All right. So while I get this all ready, how reliable is the Pearson VUE trick?
Okay, so the Pearson VUE trick was not a thing when I took my test over a decade ago, but I see it all over Facebook. I guess the only data that I have about the Pearson VUE trick is that it seems to work for most people. But again, it's not official, and I have no firsthand experience with that.
Okay, I just want to thank everybody who came tonight. I want to thank you, Marie. Some of you guys may not know, I did not say this, but Marie is a mom of 3 adorable little girls. So thank you for taking the time and coming on here and giving us your Question Queen tips. So if this has been helpful for you guys, like Marie mentioned in her presentation, we have the most, and some of you guys can attest to this who are on our Facebook group. We have the most supportive cohort on planet Earth over on our private Facebook group for members. And we do call it the nursing family, which you have heard us talk about all week long, and you'll continue to hear us talk about it. And we invite you guys to go over to nursing.com and learn more and try out a trial for $1 over there and see if it helps, see if it's right for you. We showed you kind of how to use it. And if you have any other questions or need help getting started, please contact our support at contact@nursing.com. And I'm one of them, will help you out and get you started. As always, we want you guys to succeed, and we are here for you. Now go out and be your best selves today. And ready, Marie? Happy nursing! Thank you guys so much. We will see you tomorrow night with Chance, and he will be talking about the secret, simple SOC method to remembering pharmacology. I think I just screwed up that title, but we're going to be talking all things pharmacology. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye.
Bye.